वेलकम टू मेन स्ट्रीम विद हरप्रीत सिंह तूर। आप सब ਨੂੰ ਪਿਆਰ ਭਰੀ ਸਤਿ ਸ਼੍ਰੀ ਅਕਾਲ, ਨਮਸਕਾਰ, ਆਦਾਬ ਐਂਡ ਸ਼ਲੋਮ। Once again at your service. Feel free to send an email at jastoor@gmail.com. You can get in touch with me. This is my direct email. ਉਹਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਆਪਣੇ ਸਵਾਲ ਜਵਾਬ ਜੋ ਵੀ ਹੈਗਾ you can do it, share it, your thoughts, send it to me and I will be more than happy to discuss and talk about it. Starting with the Michigan primary, which is happening right now. You definitely will hear about it also later on the Mudda also. It's going to close at about 9 o'clock, 9 p.m. In Michigan, and after that we will have the results, where there is a consistent effort to have uncommitted delegates by Democrats, elected Democrats, Rashida Tlaib, and some other Muslim groups which are pushing actually Joe Biden to one side. And on the other side we already know we have Trump, who actually played his own role in creating this mess which we are in today. Whether you agree with me or not, you really need to look at it. He was the one who started this move to Jerusalem as the capital, which was hanging fire. It was supposed to be a joint capital between two states, state of Palestine and state of Israel. Trump made Jerusalem as just Israel capital. And then he also took off the table that two-state solution based on Bibi Netanyahu. So what we have now is a mess, because Bibi doesn't want a two-state solution. He has his own reasons for that, and biggest reason is otherwise he is going to end up behind the bars. He would have been behind the bars had he not been the Prime Minister of Israel. So his direct interest in prolonging this war is understandable. Number two, the attack which Hamas did, which took place from Gaza, Bibi also had a role in that, indirectly, not directly, by reducing the surveillance, reducing the number of army personnel on that side of the border and stuff like that, while he and his group of people were pushing more and more encroachment on the West Bank. And in the meantime, Palestinian Authority was helpless, because the funding to run the Palestinian Authority comes through Israel. And if the funds don't come, you don't get feed, you don't get your children, you don't put the table meal on the table, and that is another way of squeezing the population. So, excuse me. So we have this kind of situation where now Joe Biden is again stuck between a rock and a hard place, and Michigan, South Carolina also, we had the election on Saturday, and what happened was Trump won, even though they were predicting by 30 plus margin. It was 20% margin. Yes, it's still a substantial margin, but if you really look at on the flip side of the coin, 40% people did not vote for Trump. And out of those 40%, there may be some Democrats also, because that's the way South Carolina primary is. But we should not forget one thing, that those 40% are the people who do not want Trump. And that is something which cannot be ignored. And on the Michigan side, yes, it is an issue. We will see after the results how it come out and how many people have what do you call uncommitted voters who have their own electoral maps and stuff like that. And we'll see how it goes. But this is something which, as we are moving ahead, it is a very evolving, rapidly evolving situation. And on top of everything else, let's not forget that we are living in the AI age right now, literally. New Hampshire, yeah, robocalls went out from Joe Biden's voice. And guess what? The guy who created that, he got paid only $100. And he had no idea what it will be used for. He did as a comic because he's a comedian. And he creates that kind of, stuff. And he ended up, he realized only after the calls were going and it was in the news outlet and the news media that he realized what's going on and what happened. So, so we have all these things which are happening at such a rapid pace that then we also have elections coming up. In England, we are going to have the election. India is already at the verge of having election. They can be declared any day, any week. We don't know yet, but yes, they will be declared. And for us, the South Asians, we have to be very careful about few things. Number one, yes, India is our mother country, no doubt about it. But America is our adopted country. So we should not pay any less attention to American politics. I'm not saying don't pay any attention to Indian politics, but if we are not paying more attention to American politics, we should not be paying less attention to American politics either as compared to what happens in India. Because what I see is when we go out, there is so much, hype about any Indian election, either whether it's in the state or there is going to be national election, that everybody is so much into it that they forget a lot of things. But when it comes down to the elections here, when you talk about the people, are you registered to vote? And if you are a Sardar, the question is, Gurdwara ch election hai. And if you are a Hindu gentleman, then, kede mandir de vich election ho rahi hai. It's like not even on the mind that you are supposed to get elected, registered and vote, or there is a voting coming up for American elections. So that is something which is very, very, very important, and we should not be forgetting about that. And the reason I am saying it, because we need to look at, after the break I am going to talk about it in more detail about the second Trump presidency, the downside for the minorities and the immigrants. There are immigrants who are really fed up from the cross-border crossing, and they are also fed up from having these undocumented people living in their neighborhood, but they actually forget how they came. Yeah, there is a difference between, when they came, they stayed with the people they knew, and from there they started working and growing up. And the new generation which is coming up, they are looking at the handouts from the government, because they come from that kind of setup, those kind of countries. So that's where the difference comes in. So those are the major factors which needs to be considered. And also, let's not forget what happened in Alabama about the IVF. I always talk about this thing that on the abortion, they talk about, the men talk about it all the time, and the women's are not there. I don't see that many women talking about it. I don't see them discussing about it. So, so what is happening is that for a person who is not a Christian that too an evangelical Christian. What about them? What about their health issues? What about the issues which affect them? I'm a sitting example of, with all due respect, even though, when my wife was around, when she was alive, she never wanted to talk about her sickness from cancer and this and that. After she died, I talk about it openly so that the people, they should know that what kind of pain the family goes through, what kind of pain the kids go through, and then what kind of decisions sometimes you have to make. And one of the decisions at that time when she was undergoing the treatment, we had to make about, that she got pregnant and we had a choice about to save her or the baby in conception at that point. And also there is one more thing, which I personally talk about is that we as a worldwide, as a population, we are reaching at that point where the earth cannot sustain. The businesses look at the growth of population to, get the more money, more dollar in their pocket. But we have to look at, if we are looking downturn the road for the future of coming in generations down the road, like maybe the 2 generations down, maybe 3 generations at the top, what kind of life they will have. Look at the climate change. This is all contributing. These are the small chips of the same block, and they are contributing to all this thing. So when overall we look at it, what's going on around the world, we need to be very careful. We need to have a proper conversation, and we need to discuss everything from Gaza to Russia and Ukraine to women's right and democracy and freedom of speech. Minority, us, like I talk about the brown people, how we should be looking at the incoming administration if Trump comes in. He has already called us the vermins. He has already called us the immigrants, every immigrant, including the African Americans, that they are actually making the blood impure, which means he's talking about the supremacist. The Ku Klux Klan thing is, coming up again. So when I was looking into it, and I have my own thing of reading, trying to do the deep dive as much as I can, even though I do not have any doctoral or anything, but I still have this thing, where I don't know how to put it, but there is a hunger in me about the information and how that information affects the behavior of normal people, and how it frustrates me that the people, they knowingly, they refuse to understand, So here comes a group of people who say, make America great again, Trump's logo, right? America was great. America still is great. Trump did his best to make it a dictatorship. And next time when he comes in, he has said openly that he will be a dictator on day one. Okay? So literally what it means, democratic institutions, including Department of Justice, Federal Bureau, including CIA. When he was the president, the only president who insisted and went to CIA headquarters to have a photo op. It's not the other presidents were not going there or they were not doing it, but he insisted on having a photo op on that storied institution, which a lot of people who work there, irrespective of their alignment, whether those were Republican or Democrat, they did not like that. And I can understand that, because your electoral faith is different than your country's faith, where you want your country. But now under the new dispensation under the new administration, Trump's administration, I even doubt it if there is anything different than what it was there before. So, when we really start looking at it, where we stand, where we are, then honestly, I don't know what to say except that we should not give in. We need to have more understanding about what could happen. A gentleman who actually did more study on the Trump's supporter, he found out that the evangelicals, they came out in big numbers for Trump in 2016. And they still believe that Trump is their savior. And for those people who do not understand what it means, let me put it down bluntly. For Christians, evangelical Christians, Trump is the guy who will create an Armageddon where everybody will die, and those people who believe and follow Christian faith, they will rise from the dead and they will be together, and everybody else will be wiped out from this planet. So that's their theory. And why they believe he is their savior? Because they understand that he is the only person who is reactionary, who just cares about himself, and he does not care about anything else. Look at all these judgments and everything. He literally pushed out the RNC chair, McDaniel, because she was the only stumbling block between Trump getting his legal bills paid by RNC or paid by him, or the people who actually supported him during that fake voter fraud, which is still going on. And he still says, if I win, the votes are genuine. If I don't win, then it was a fraud which was committed. Even though Bill Barr, the Attorney General, who actually, since I came to this country, I haven't seen any Attorney General so much loyal to the President as much as Bill Barr was. Even he was shown the door by Donald Trump, because he told Donald Trump that, no, I will not say that, okay, there is a probability that a fraud was committed and the votes were not counted right. So now these people are looking that Trump will have yes men around him, and they will be able to create such a scenario. Not only that, there are other people around him who are actually planning that come 2025, because January 2025 is the day when incoming president or the president who will be serving as a president for the next 4 years takes the oath. Okay? So they are already planning to how to make America a Christian country, which means that anybody who does not, even within Christianity, there are different branches. So anybody who does not or will not follow the type of Christianity which they want, how to treat them or push them out. Put them either in the camps or kick them out or whatever. So we are looking at the election from that perspective. Now, the current situation where, South Carolina comes into the picture, yeah, he won, but he did not get the kind of vote which he was expecting. What does that mean? I don't know. Would those people really come out and deliver South Carolina to Joe Biden, which has not happened for quite some time? I have no idea right now. But at the same time, there is a consistent effort on the Trump's team to bring on board Mitch McConnell. Let's not forget, Mitch McConnell was the person who actually stood between Trump's second impeachment and Trump not getting impeached. Why? Because at that time, the conventional wisdom, which he probably thought, was that, well, once the president loses the election, they just go in, they go into sunset and there will not be any issue or anything. But no, it does not happen on Trump's watch. And he is back, and he's back with a vengeance. And he's openly saying that I'm here to take the revenge. And he's not saying take the revenge about what is happening to him. He's saying that he's there to take the revenge on your behalf for what is happening to you. The people who attacked the Capitol on January 6 on 2021, they are calling them the heroes. They are calling them, the prisoners of faith, or they are using a totally different term. And the social media actually is playing a very active role to actually push this thing even further into general public, because everybody has the smartphone. You have the TikTok, you have Instagram, you have Snapchat, you have Telegram, you have WhatsApp, and anybody can shoot a video of a couple of seconds, put it out, and nobody questions that. There was a time when on the Twitter, which is X now, when there was a specifically a dedicated team looking at whether the information is correct or not. It's not there anymore. Facebook, the Facebook had an issue, but they still have few things where they are like, okay, we are how should I put it down, that they are keeping an eye out for the fake news to come and get circulated on the Facebook or Instagram, which is again a Facebook, and other social medias. So we don't know. And on top of everything else, we are marching into AI world. And like I mentioned in the beginning, what happened in New Hampshire, just watch till November election. What else will come? Sometime, and I'm definite about it, at least 99% I'm sure that I got a call yesterday from somebody, and it was all computer generated. How I figured it out was because after I said whatever I said, there was a pause before the next question came in. That raised my eyebrows that there is something fishy. Then second thing came in, second question came in, and when the second question came in, I was definite that it is AI generated voice, and I hanged up the phone. But how many people are there who can really see that? So we really have to be very careful about marching into this upcoming elections, that how much is actually the factual and how much is AI generated. Now coming back to the situation we are in worldwide. Okay, this is something which I am going to talk about in this segment of the show. Henry Kissinger, when he died, I talked about him quite a bit. I tried to say as much about as I knew about it, because I have been, a news junkie since I was a kid, and need to, I feel like that, okay, need to know. Henry Kissinger actually is the one who came up with the idea, even though the word detente, where you do not fight, but you have a mutual understanding not to destroy each other and destroy the planet. So this is what I'm reading. I'm quoting here Henry Kissinger. The United States and the Soviet Union are ideological rivals. And this is what he said in his memoirs. And he said that the detente cannot change that, but the nuclear age compels us to coexist. Rhetorical crusades cannot change that either. So then he goes on to mention about, that middle of the way between the aggression that led to World War I, when Europe, despite the existence of a military balance, drifted into a war no one wanted, and the appeasement that he believed had led to World War II, when the democracies failed to understand the designs of a totalitarian aggressor. And I'm reading this exactly the way he wrote down, and it came as an article in Foreign Affairs. And, so he was also the one who actually opened up China to, through backdoor diplomacy. He will fly to Pakistan. From Pakistan, then they will take the back route to go, and then within China they will fly and they will meet till the President Nixon, not Henry Kissinger. Henry Kissinger was Secretary of State and also, advisor, national security advisor. The President Nixon, Richard Nixon, actually was the one who traveled to China to open up China. So now, where we stand today, based on what has happened in Ukraine for the last 2 years, which Ukraine is fighting, there is right now, literally pull and push, where Russia gained a little bit, not much, but at the same time, Ukraine is still holding. But U.S. is not providing the aid because the Republicans are actually not there to provide aid to Ukraine. And the reason is, like one of the Republican congressmen said, that my colleagues are compromised, which means what? Which means literally the people, some of the, his, what would you call, the elected congressmen, they are compromised by other governments. And let's not forget, America actually is a power. If America decides to draw a line somewhere in the world, it matters. How long they will be able to hold on to that line, nobody knows. But yes, it carries a lot of weight when it comes down to that. Now, from there onward, the next step comes in. What is that next step? Is that if America pulls back, like the Trump is saying, when he's talking about, MAGA, and he's talking about that he will have the tariffs on everything, that's another issue which needs to be explored and discussed. China is already stepping into the territory in the Middle East and other countries and Africa. Russia is already into Ukraine, and Russia has already threatened Poland. And today, actually, yesterday, Emmanuel Macron came out that they may send some forces to Ukraine, which means what? That it will expand the war. And because it will expand the war, we are looking at another war on the land of Europe. And already Russia from Kremlin, they have told that if they did that, they have the other options. And what other options are there? Of course, the nuclear options are there on the table as well. And we should not forget that if a person is nuked, like they say, that place is gone for hundreds and thousands of years. You cannot do anything over there. So this is something which is really scary, and that's where the leadership from U.S. House, Republican side, need to step up to the plate. Because if democracy is at a threat, we need to take a stand. The reason again is because I repeat again, and I'm going to repeat it again and again, the freedom of speech, freedom of thoughts, and freedom of countering the other views is very important. Even though right now, within universities after the Gaza war, there are a lot of anti-Semitic stuff going on, which is not fair. We got to look at this community which has been suffering for thousands of years. They got their house. Now the question is not going back there to evaporate the house. The question is how to coexist. Like, I just read from Henry Kissinger's saying between United States and Russia, how to coexist. And that is something which needs to be resolved in Middle East. And until that is resolved, Middle East will not be stable. There is another factor to why this whole thing started. There was, a parallel, like the Silk Road from China, a parallel route was announced from India to Israel through Saudi Arabia and other countries for business and everything. And just because as soon as that was announced, within a couple of weeks, the Hamas thing happened, which means what? Which means there are other powers which are looking at it and they do not want that thing to happen. And this is, when you look at the situation in the world, right now we are sitting at that moment where the food supplies are at risk, your security is at risk, and democracies are at risk. And yes, there is a rise in dictatorial mindset among the populations. The public is willing to accept dictators to rule them by losing their freedoms without realizing that where they are today, especially in Western countries, they are there because of democracies and the freedom of thought and freedom of speech and freedom to write. There are people in other countries which are behind the bars for writing what they thought or saying for what they thought, including India and Pakistan. Actually, literally during the final segment of the show, we were talking about some of the things which happen and affect the countries. And like we're talking about how MAGA Republicans, they want to make America, like they say, make America great again, by doing what? Putting up the tariffs, putting up the walls and everything. And I'm reading something from the history of United States right here, that back in 1832, okay, close to 200 years ago, okay, U.S. government put up high tax called tariff on goods coming from other countries. Okay. This was actually meant to help the American businesses. See the similarities? But it made the things more expensive for the people. Again, see the similarities? When Trump declared those tariffs, what happened? The wood which you use, 30% tariff. The stuff which is coming from China, 15% tariff. Where those extra 15 and 30% came from? They came from your and my pocket, not from the government's budget. Even if the government budget is there, ultimately it is the taxes which we pay which runs the government. So at the end of the day, where they came in? They came in from our pockets. Okay. So at that point, South Carolina decided, again, I'm reading this is a history. This is not something which I made up. For the people who may differ with my opinion and differ with me, okay. So they came up with the idea called nullification, which means that South Carolina will not accept the national government's passed laws, in this case, which was a tariff. Okay. So that created a big issue between the federal government, and at that time Andrew Jackson was the president, and South Carolina. It came down to that point where South Carolina was sort of like looking at to total breakaway from the United States. And then the negotiations started, and ultimately they came to a conclusion where those tariffs will be rolled back slowly in one step at a time. And ultimately, what happened? The Civil War did happen. It was not about just the slavery as he's writing, but it was also about that fight about the rights of the states. Now, look at this when we go into the other thing was about Canada. In Canada, we have Quebec, which is a heavily French dominated part of Canada. They literally had their own referendum in 1995, and they lost by a very narrow margin. Then in Spain, Catalan is the region. They had their issues over there. Now compare that to our country where we came from, India. Okay, what is happening is that we have this GST, which is collected by the federal government, centered, but it is not being sent to the states based on equality. It is being sent, if the state is being ruled by BJP, you have no issue, you can have even more than what your share is. But if it is an opposition, which is basically, we are looking at Kerala, Tamil Nadu, Karnataka and Punjab, and maybe one or two more states, they are not getting their fair share paid. So what it means? It means the federal government intentionally is creating an atmosphere of friction and animosity within the states, where the public, they are against each other without realizing that who is actually holding the strings. When I was growing up, we used to go and see all these shows, Putle and they show hunde hunde see, behind the screen we will have all these small, men, women, those putles and Kathputliyan, and the guy will stand actually behind this a curtain, and from the top with his hands he will control their actions and everything, and you will watch their actions, their fighting and everything. So this is what I'm talking about here. And so this is something which the governments need to address. And how it can be addressed? It cannot be addressed by putting the issues under the carpet. They need to discuss openly back home in India, because yes, we may have different opinions about how the governments rule the country. Some of the laws we can have our opinion about how it should be, but when it comes down to certain laws, we need to, like GST, we need to look at it fair and square. And I actually am trying to see, there was another news today where the Supreme Court actually pulled the BJP government for, let me see if I can find it here. Well, yeah, Ramdev Yadav's Patanjali, Baba Namdev's Patanjali. Government, even the BJP government has been put on a notice about that they are letting them run a freely the lies about the benefits of certain things or certain products, which again shows that how a government can allow some things to go unchecked because somebody supports them, and on the other hand using the ED and everything to oppose whatever they feel like, oh, this is against us. So to have actually a proper federalistic system, we better be careful, because in India it is about at that point where it is already being stressed to the limits, and we need to be very careful about it. Now going to back to what is happening in Red Sea, Yemen and Houthis. Even though United States and UK, which actually started joined United States over there for the first time after a long break, their ships and their navy actually attacked some of the Houthi targets. So even though, yeah, Iran is being blamed behind it, but now we have to look at where Iran is looking at this whole situation. They are saying United States went to Iraq, what happened? United States went to Afghanistan, what happened? United States is staying in the Middle East, what is happening? United States is supporting Israel, what is happening? So they have their own view of looking at these things, whereas United States has its own view looking at all these things, that how they are happening and what should be there and what should not be there. So we are at that point in history where the future of our generations, whether those are in America or in Europe or Asia or Africa or South America or in Australia, they will be decided based on what happens first Ukraine, then Israel, and then how United States and Iran and Saudi Arabia, which Saudi Arabia and Iran, Shia and Sunni issue, they come to some sort of agreement how to talk. And that's where Henry Kissinger's conversation comes in handy, the way he said that if we agree to talk and mutually decide to respect each other, then we can probably stop the hot war where hundreds and thousands can die, which are getting killed right now as we talk about it. With that note, till next time, good night and good luck.